This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
What's up, Detroit sports fans? Welcome to the Fan Reporter Show, made by fans for fans, powered by the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I'm Nick, and joining us today is our boy Anders, going to give us this week's topics.
Well, the Lions pulled it off. They got an unexpected win this week, and then so we're definitely going to talk about that. Then we're going to move on to the Pistons for a little bit. Some juicy Dwane Casey comments, as well as a really interesting trade put forth by James Edwards, the Athletic. It's a Fan Report.
The Lions pulled out a victory today. Today is it's a good day. It's a weird day.
It's a very weird.
The
this
Lions
is not the show I was
out.
expecting to do.
No, I was expecting. I'll be honest with you. Before today, I was expecting to come on today, to come onto the show and talk about how, what are the possibilities of Matt Patricia being fired after next week, going into the bye week? What are the possibilities of Bob Quinn being sent packing going into the bye week? Lions 0-4. Where do we go from here? Do we move on from Matthew Stafford at the end of the year? Are we looking to possibly draft a quarterback in the first round? I was quite confident that we were going to be trounced by the Arizona Cardinals. I felt like Arizona just matched up extremely well against the Lions this week. They ran the ball well between a few different players with Kenyon Drake, Kyler Murray, and honestly, Chase Edmonds is always effective for them as well. And the Lions can't stop the run. And then they've got DeAndre Hopkins, and our secondary has nobody to match up with him. And we saw that today. He beat up the Lions today. A lot. He didn't score, but he beat us up for 300 yards. 131 yards, I believe it was, 135 on 10 catches.
Lions went bend, don't break today, and it
To the
worked.
extreme. With DeAndre Hopkins, anyways.
Yeah, 10 catches, 137 yards.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of yards. I mean, they kept everybody else quiet from the Cardinals. They kept Kenyon Drake pretty quiet. Their run defense actually showed up today. Kenyon Drake.
That was the most surprising part of this game
really
for me.
Was. Kenyon Drake, 73 yards. Kyler Murray, 29 yards, which that was the big surprise to me. Was Kyler Murray only 29 rushing yards today?
They actually did a very good job of
keeping him in the pocket.
Yep, they had to surround him at all times, like one would expect, but it worked. I still didn't see a lot of pressure. They got some penetration, but didn't see many blitz packages. But they were able to contain him.
They were, and in all honesty, Kyler Murray probably played the worst game at least all year, if not in his career. He just did not seem on today, but the Lions took advantage. And that's what they have to do when the opposing quarterback's not on. They have to take advantage.
Exactly.
Should this game have been this close? No way. No way.
When you have 3 interceptions, you should have a significant lead.
You should be blowing a team out. A lot of 3 and outs, a lot of drives stalling because of dropped balls or a bad sack or penalties. A guy that we spent a lot of money on to play the right tackle position looks like a dumpster fire in Vaitai. I know it's his first week this year, but my God, did he look bad today?
Oh, that holding penalty was so ugly.
Oh, on the Marvin Hall catch for 50 yards or something? Yeah. And then he also got beat badly on a big-time sack on a drive that was moving along, too, earlier in the game. I mean, he did not look good today. But, Andrew, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What are your positives and negatives from this game? Obviously, I've got a lot of both.
Yeah, me too.
But go ahead and take it away.
So I'll be honest. So watching this game, I was just waiting for that imminent collapse. All right, when are the Lions going to stop? At least play. When are the Lions going to fully implode here? And for the first time in I think 11 games, it just didn't happen. At no point, if the Lions made a mistake, they forced a mistake on the other end. They didn't play a perfect game, but they played the best game I've seen them play in a long time, and I'm happy I get to finally say that. Now, it was a very odd game for the offense because, first, this offense was advertised as a running back by committee. AP got 22 carries.
We saw a straight-up bell cow situation today.
AP got 22 carries for 75 yards.
Those are not good numbers, in case you're
Carry-on got
keeping
3, and
home.
that was about it. Jamal Agnew got 1 wide receiver carry, and Matthew Stafford got sacked. But so I don't know what the deal is with that, why you're running your oldest running back as a bell cow and not trying to develop your younger guys. I would think it'd be the opposite. When they brought AP in here, I thought he would be coming in as just relief. I didn't think he'd be getting 22 carries. So I'm really curious to see what their idea behind this whole thing is and what future they envision for a guy like Kerryon Johnson. And the other thing, my other big takeaway from the offense, and this is another thing I'm really happy to be saying, I want us to target TJ Hawkinson more. I saw nothing but good things when we went his way.
I mean, we've been kind of
want him to get the ball more.
We've been kind of touting him quite a bit this year in general. I mean, he's had a very solid start to the year. Has he put up any kind of big numbers like he did against the Cardinals last year? No. But he's had a very solid start to the season. Very effective for a tight end. Has he scored once, I believe? Didn't he score once last week?
I think he scored week 1.
Week 1, was it? Mm-hmm. Okay. But he's been very solid. He's, in all honesty, been the number 2 receiver, I believe, every week for the Lions.
Yeah.
And the same continues today. I mean, he had 4 balls. He caught 4 balls for 53 yards. The next closest would have been Marvin Jones with 53 for 51.
He tied Kenny Galladay for team high in targets at 7 targets.
He did.
But I'm talking about this is what I want to see. I want to see TJ Hawkinson be a focal point of this offense because when we go his way, it seems he's giving me no reason not to think that he can carry a bigger load in this offense. And if you drafted a tight end as high as you did, you need to be using him.
Drafting a tight end as high as they did, a guy where they drafted TJ Hawkinson, he needs to have the usage of guys like Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, George Kittle. He needs to be in the upper echelon in terms of usage for his team. He needs to be up there. And we've said it from the beginning of the year that we needed to see a big step up from him this year. And I do think we've seen a step up this year, but I want to see him reach another level. I want to see him take over games like we see from some of the elite tight ends in the league. Do I think he's capable? That I don't know yet, but I do think he's got another gear that we just haven't seen yet this year so far. Do I think we see it at some point? Yes, but I think so far we haven't gotten it, but I do think we will. I think he's capable. I think he's got the talent and the ability to do it, and I think he's now able to have some of that confidence that he needs to really try to take over a game at the tight end position.
One of the big things in this game, a lot of eyes, at least for Lions fans, a lot of eyes were on Jeff Okudah. Now, Jeff Okudah made some big plays, but he also got cooked quite a bit.
He had a roller coaster of a game.
Yeah,
some big ups and some big downs.
He ended up leaving with an injury. I did not see him come back. I'm not sure if he ended up coming back and I just missed it. But
not 100% sure. I don't think I saw him come back either. I don't know though.
So there were some good. He had some tackles for losses. He had a nice pick.
He had a big pick at the end of the game. Big pick.
Considering considering his first 2 games in the NFL were at least starting against Devontae Adams, and then he got cooked by Marcus Valdes-Scantling, and then DeAndre Hopkins. But the positives that you saw today, how much leeway are you giving Jeff Okudah? Are you taking more positive and negative away from the first 2 games right now?
So the positives I'm going to take away from it are he's able to make some plays. He's able to make a play when we need him to. Does he consistently do that? No. He obviously made the big pick today. He, like you mentioned, he made a couple of tackles for loss. The thing that I'm going to draw some concern about is we drafted this guy number 3 overall. And you look at some of the other guys that were first-round corners or top 10 corners taken in drafts, their rookie years, they were making impacts. They were big-time players, the Patrick Petersons, the big-time players in their first year, the big-time corners. Jalen Ramsey was another one in his rookie year, playing very effectively. Jeff Okudah looks like he's struggling in coverage. We saw him get beat by Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who is not exactly an elite wide receiver at all. And then today we saw him get straight up cooked by DeAndre Hopkins, play after play after play. And that's not encouraging because this is a guy being drafted number 3 overall. Sure, he can cover some number 2s, but is that what you bring in a guy at number 3 overall to do? No. We need him covering the number 1s, and we need him shutting them down.
But the reason I ask you, do you take more positives and negatives away from today is because I don't know about you, but I didn't expect him to really shut DeAndre Hopkins. I didn't even contain him. I ran DeAndre Hopkins in 3 different FanDuel lineups.
I did too. I absolutely thought Hopkins was going to have a big game today, and for good reason, and he did. My only thing is
the positive strokes that you saw Jeff Okudah make today. Do you take more away from that? Like, do you take more away on that end than you do seeing him get?
No, in all honesty, I really don't, because we asked this guy to be drafting him number 3 overall, looking at the other top pick corners that have come through the years. We need him to be like them. We need him to make an impact now, and I haven't seen that yet. If he's going to have struggles covering number 1s, then we have something serious to worry about here just because of where he was drafted. Is that his fault? Not necessarily. but we need him to be an elite coverage corner, and he's gotten burned in both of the games he's played now. We can't have that happen. Yeah. So I love the big playability he's got. He's able to make a big time play on the defensive side and make things happen. But I don't care about that. If he can't be consistent in coverage defense, then I can't trust this guy to cover number ones, and I can't take a positive out of that.
It's not going to get much easier for him next week because it's looking like Michael Thomas may play. So much to my chagrin.
Welcome to the big leagues, because I feel bad for the guy, because what a welcome to the NFL, having to cover Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, and then Michael Thomas in 3 straight weeks. That's a little rough. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. We're talking the upper, like the tip top of receivers in the league to test you early. I guess I can give him the benefit of the doubt in that regard, but I still need to see a little bit more of an ability to play coverage corner, because that's what we ask him to do. He's got to be able to play that effectively.
Now, here's another question. This is kind of a big picture question for you, just kind of on the Lions. Lions at 1-2 start right now. The Bears surprisingly
look really good.
Falcons. Yeah. Nick Foles came in, is all of a sudden a god again. So Bears are 3-0, right? The Packers, we're recording this right after the Lions game, so the Packers game has kind of just started, but they're currently up 3-0 on the Saints, and I expect them to win this game.
That's a big game to watch, because I think those are two of the best teams in the NFC right there.
Yeah, but let's just for the sake of the argument assume the Packers come out tonight with a win. They're 3-0, and then you just played in the 2-0 Cardinals that you beat on their home turf. Are you giving them a little bit of kind of cutting the Lions a little bit of slack now when you're seeing how good their opponents actually may be? Are you thinking maybe we just had a tough schedule to start? Or you say, no, we're not cutting any slack. The team still is way below expectations.
No, in all reality, I'm not cutting them any slack. And the reason is because I still don't think the Bears are actually that good. Looking at who they've played dumpster fire teams. I think the Falcons are terrible. I think that is a bad football team. Their offense looks pretty nice. Granted, they had no Julio today. Yeah, but their defense is absolutely god-awful.
Yeah, their defense is terrible.
Absolutely terrible. And should they be 0-3? No. Are they 0-3 or 1-2?
They're 0-3.
0-3. Should they be 0-3? No, but they somehow managed to blow a game against the Dallas Cowboys, who I also don't think is a very good football team. I don't think the Bears...
This is 2 games. They could easily be 2-1. They had 2 bad losses.
Exactly. I really don't think the Bears are that good of a football team. Are they better than I personally thought they were going to be? Yes. I expected the Bears to be last place in this division. But their defense is better than I thought it was going to be, and their offense is, albeit still bad, has been somehow better than I thought. But I don't think the Bears are that good of a football team. I don't think the way that the Lions lost to the Packers are a good football team, and they absolutely obliterated us. So looking at the Cardinals, I think while the Lions played a very solid game, I don't think we got the best of the Cardinals today, because I don't think we got the best of Kyler Murray. Now you could argue that.
Then again, I did expect us to. This is the game. If you'd ask me which of these between the Cardinals and the Saints, which of these 2 games I expect, I think we had a shot to win, I would have actually been leaning the Saints, because even if Michael Thomas plays, I do feel like he's not going to be 100%, right? Which is, I think, a big factor. But so I agree with you in the fact that I am not really cutting them slack in terms of their start. But there's also a part of me that's like, maybe. What if we do beat the Saints next week and we're at 2-2? Like, where am I at for this? Like, I don't even know where my console is going to be at, because the 2 games I expected us to win, we lost, and the 2 games I expected us to lose, we would have won. Which I don't know where I'd be at, where my head would be at.
Andrew, obviously we have our group chat with all of our friends together, and we talk a lot of Lions football and fantasy football.
Yeah,
and like I said before, and one of our friends who is a huge Lions fan, and he drinks the Kool-Aid nonstop, said, will you buy into the Lions if they win the next 2 games and they beat both the Cardinals and the Saints? I will 100% be buying into the Lions if they do that. I'm not ready to drink the Kool-Aid just yet, because seeing the way this game went and I think the Lions were fortunate to win this game, because I think that Kyler Murray, the way he played today, was just not his game. I think that he was making reads that he never should make. The 2 of his picks were just completely ill-advised on his part. So I do think the Lions were fortunate a little bit to win this game. I think the Lions, because the keys that I put for the Lions to win the game, most of them they didn't really accomplish. They didn't rush, they didn't force Kyler Murray into making mistakes. He just made them himself. A lot of his mistakes were just non-pressured mistakes. And with the way the Lions' penalties were and the way the drive-killing situations, the drop balls, the penalties, that type of stuff is what causes this team to not be very good. Yeah. And that is a consistent thing for them. So and a lack of pass rush, a lack of a running game, because really they did not have a good running game today at all, even though they decided to just lean all over AP today. There are some encouraging things to take out of this. Yes, they forced some turnovers on defense. Yes, they had an actually very solid and mistake-free offensive day. Matthew Stafford played probably his best game of the season.
He did have a couple of bad missed throws, but
but that's
on the whole, he played a really good game.
You can come to expect that with Matthew Stafford, though. He's going to have an ill-advised throw here and there, but overall, in the end, overall, as long as he doesn't get burned by those mistakes, he puts up solid numbers, he plays a good game, and that's what he did today. So I do think the Lions played just good enough to win this game, but if they played next week how they played today, they will not beat the Saints, because I don't think the level of play for them was that great today. It was turnover free. I'll call it that. They didn't commit a bunch of turnovers on offense, but they still made mistakes in the offensive end with the penalties, and big ones at that. So they've got to figure that out and get that straightened out, and that's always been a problem with the Lions. But again, like you mentioned, this, in my opinion, would have been the harder game between this week and next. Unless Michael Thomas is back. If Michael Thomas is back, that's a completely different game. Even hampered, I don't know how good he's going to be, because he's always damn good. So I don't know. If the Lions, end up 2-2 beating the Cardinals and the Saints, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I still think the Saints and the Cardinals are two of the top 5 teams in the NFC. And if the Lions beat both of them, I'm buying in 100%. 100%.
Let me pull up real quick, because now I'm curious.
I'm actually curious. I actually have a question for you real quick.
Yeah.
Going back to your question about, do you take more positives or negatives out of Jeff Okudah's week? What's your stance on that? Do you take more positives or negatives out of this game from him?
So for me, because the negatives were negatives I was coming in expecting him to do. A rookie cornerback that didn't look in his first game, going against who might be the best receiver in the NFL right now. I was not expecting him to have a good game at all. I was expecting DeAndre Hopkins to go for 100 yards on him. Easy. The reason I say I probably take more positives out of this is because he still found a way to not, at least not let it get in his head, and still found a way to come up and make big plays when we needed them, including 2 big tackles for loss and a huge interception. So that's why I think it's just, in terms of a mental aspect, I think I take more positives from this.
Yeah, but can you really take 2, maybe 3 plays and say that that's enough of a positive to just wipe out the rest of the game? The other mistakes he made throughout the game. And that's where I say, no, I would rather see consistency outside of a guy who can make a big play every now and then. He's only going to get at most 5-6 picks a season. Is that going to lead to winning football games? No, I look for a guy like, I want
look for him to get more consistent.
I want a coverage corner
as the season goes on. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
I want a guy like that. That's a coverage corner like Darrelle Revis, who doesn't put up the big fancy pick play numbers, the interception numbers, but nobody throws his way because his coverage is so locked down. You can't throw his way, and that's what I need Jeff Okudah to be. Because that's what we drafted him to be. We had drafted him to be our lockdown corner. Just a guy that gets a few picks a year and makes a big play every few games. That's not good enough for me. It's not.
I mean, I don't disagree with you on that. It's just like I guess the reason is just I'm just happy that he looked better to me than he did against the Packers. He looked like he took a positive step forward. And he looked like he didn't, because I was expecting him, a rookie corner going against DeAndre Hopkins. I was expecting Hopkins to get in his head, and I was expecting Okudah after the first couple quarters just look lost out there and just like lose all his self-confidence.
I mean, but let's be real though. Hopkins straight up owned him today.
No, he did.
137 yards, ain't no slouch.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I think Okudah,
I'm not saying
he
covered Hopkins well. I'm saying that despite that, he still found ways to make an impact on the game.
I think right now Okudah looks lost in coverage. Mm-hmm. I don't think he looks like a very good coverage corner in the here and now. And yeah, it's the second game. I understand that. Yeah. But the other rookies that we are trying to compare, the other top-notch corners that we drafted him to be in their rookie years, they were making big impacts immediately. So yeah, that is a bit of a worry for me.
That part is worrisome.
That's quite a worry for me. In fact, we need this guy to be something, especially if this team wants to win games this year. It's not like he's coming in and able to. It's not like he's got time right now to come in and ease his way into the game, ease his way into the season, ease his way into his career. We don't have time for that this year. He's expected to be our number one corner. He's expected to be the guy. He's got to replace Darius Slay, who was a very solid lockdown corner for us for many years. If Darius Slay was still here, it's a little bit different. The pressure's off. He can ease his way in, but he can't now. No way.
And he still has a matchup with Michael Thomas to look forward to. He still has a matchup with Julio Jones to look forward to.
Oh, yeah, he's got some tough matchups.
He still has a matchup with Mike Evans, Thielen, another matchup with Devontae Adams. He's got some fun times ahead.
That Bucs matchup is interesting because who do you think he actually covers in that game? Does he cover Mike Evans or does he cover Godwin?
The way he looked against a speedy guy like
Valdez-Scantling?
Yeah,
I think I'm going Evans too.
Let's look forward unless you have any more thoughts on this game. I do kind of want to look forward a little bit. Yes. So this Saints game, thankfully, we're not playing the Silverdome. I don't know how much it matters with the crowd with no fans there.
Silverdome?
Did I say the Silverdome?
You did.
Oh God! But anyway,
we've gone to the time machine here.
Yes. So we're at home. This could go one of two ways, in my opinion. If Michael Thomas is going in at full strength, and he does to us what DeAndre Hopkins did today, I don't think that you're going to be able to rely on someone like Alvin Kamara having a Kenyon Drake type game, or someone like Drew Brees. Even though I'm not too high on Drew Brees in general this season,
Drew Brees has not been good at all.
Yeah, I still think that in the clutch, I don't feel comfortable just counting out Drew Brees.
No,
but
no. I will say there are some very glaring stats for Drew Brees that are a little scary, like the fact that his average yards per attempt he's got something like only five balls over 5 completed passes where the ball traveled at least 10 yards in the air. Like, it's some stupid low number where you look at and go, Jesus, this is not pretty. I think he's got like a 5.3 yards per attempt right now. Like, it's not good. Drew Brees looks like he's cooked. He's done. So there are some things that we can take advantage of in this game.
So my question to you is for this game, though, is if you're the Lions love to play man. With the way Okudah is getting cooked, and if Michael Thomas is a full go, are you switching out of man? Are you letting Okudah go man-to-man on Michael Thomas, or are you switching to cover 3 or something?
Well, the Lions are known, Matt Patricia, I should say, is known to implement his typical man-to-man cover 1 type defense. And I'll be honest with you, the way that the Saints are and the way that, Drew Brees has been, I honestly think you can get away with man coverage in this game. And the reason is because your cover 1, you really don't need a cover 3. You really don't need a cover 2. Your cover 1 actually matches up halfway decent against this Saints team because of the fact that Drew Brees does not throw downfield anymore. You won't get beat deep anymore. The way you get beat now is a short pass and a guy breaking a big one because he's got some good blocks, or he just schools everybody. Or a crossing route that ends up going for big time yardage. He will not beat you deep anymore. So your cover 1 actually could work in this game. It could. And frankly, what I'm doing is I'm taking that extra safety or that extra linebacker, and I'm playing an over-under coverage on man coverage on Michael Thomas and not letting him beat me. I'll play an over-under on him all day. If he ends up making, I'm not
afraid of Emmanuel Sanders right now. He had the opportunity. He's had opportunity like last game without Michael Thomas. He had the opportunity to light the world on fire, and he did it. I'm not afraid of him anymore.
Right. If you put
33 years old,
if you put an over-under on Michael Thomas, and he does complete a pass for 7 yards, if you got an over-under, you're probably not going to let him break free out of that. You stop him there. Sure, the Saints would love to dink and dunk you all day and move the ball 7 yards at a time downfield, but eventually either a mistake's going to happen or you're going to make a big stop. And that's why I do think the cover 1 could actually work in this game, especially if you're bringing pressure on Brees, making him uncomfortable, which I don't think the Lions are going to do. I hope
put money on it. They won't.
Exactly. The one guy I truly am worried about beating you in this game, though, was Alvin Kamara. I will be playing him
The
next
duo of Kamara and
Yes.
Latavius Murray.
I will be playing Alvin Kamara next week in FanDuel.
especially if Michael Thomas isn't a full go or doesn't play at all, the Saints will be really heavily leaning on the run. So you're going to need to bring your A game in that front seven.
And as they should lean heavily on the run. It's the Lions. They've got one of the worst run defenses in the league. They looked better today, no question. However, they didn't last week and they didn't the week before that. So I expect the Saints to roll with, and they didn't last year either. So I expect the Saints to roll with what's been proven to work against the Lions, and that's lean on the run. You've got one of the best playmakers in your own backfield in New Orleans. Utilize them. So the Lions have to figure out a way to keep Michael Thomas from making the big play with his legs, and two, a way to contain Alvin Kamara from making the big play himself.
I think you're spot on. Because even if Michael Thomas, like you said, like it's not like Drew Brees and age where he can beat you any which. I mean, he can beat you any which way, but I'm not like I said before. I'm not afraid of guys like Traquan Smith and Emmanuel Sanders. Like I feel comfortable if I can take away the Saints' top targets, which would be Kamara and Michael Thomas. If I can find a way to just focus in on them, I'm not sure that Drew Brees is capable anymore of extending plays the way he used to be. He used to be really dangerous when he got like more time to throw, but I think you're spot on. Now, my last question before we move on to the NBA here. I know you're talking about how Kyler Murray played one of his worst games that you've seen him play. However, we did do a good job of stopping Kenyon Drake. How much credit are you giving Corey Undlin today?
I don't really know because I think, I do think he put an emphasis this week on stopping Kenyon Drake from beating you. Do not let Kenyon Drake beat you. And then try not to give up the big play. That seemed to be the focus today, and they succeeded on that for the most part. And contain Kyler Murray from being able to get to the outside. Those were the big three keys that I could see from the Lions today, and they succeeded on those. Stop Kenyon Drake from beating you. Don't give up the big play, and keep Kyler Murray in the pocket. And they succeeded at all three of those, and I give Corey Undlin credit for that. I think that I don't think that any type of special blitz package to get in Kyler Murray's head or any type of rushing to get in Kyler Murray's head really was.
There wasn't. I was looking for it, but
right.
There wasn't.
They didn't do anything there to force the interceptions. I do think that the turnovers that were caused weren't necessarily caused by the Lions as much as they were Kyler Murray just making a bad read and making a mistake, especially the Jamie Collins pick. He had no business throwing that football.
There was one though where Jamie Collins, like, it wasn't. I don't think it was like a dialed up blitz, but Jamie Collins was able to find his way. That was
the first pick, the Duron Harmon pick. That was the Duron Harmon pick, and Jamie Collins did get a QB hit there. He did generate some pressures on a 3rd and 9 early in the game. And yes, that and that's what you and I were preaching going into this game is put pressure on Kyler Murray, make him make a bad decision, and he did there, and it led to a pick. It was a tipped pass, but it still led to a pick.
Yeah,
I think they were fortunate to get the other two because it was a bad read by Kyler Murray. Okudah did make a good. He
almost got a
ball.
fourth. Duron Harmon had a pretty bad drop on one pick,
right
towards the end. But
for those three things I mentioned, I do give some credit to Corey Undlin there for containing Kyler Murray in the pocket, keep him there, slowing down Kenyon Drake, and don't give up that big play.
Okay,
so I'll give Corey
we're in
Undlin
agreement there because I was going to come out and say that I don't think this is a game that Matt Patricia could have called on defense last season. Is where I was getting at with this.
I don't think so.
But
I don't think so either because Matt Patricia last year gave up the big play all the time. And didn't know how to stop the running quarterback. Well, they figured it out this week.
Except for that one weird anomaly in Kansas City, but
right. This week, the things I looked at for what Corey Undlin did this week, he was able to do things that Matt Patricia was not able to figure out last year. Figuring out a way to stop an elusive running back, an effective running back, figuring out a way to keep a quarterback contained. And then not giving up a big play. Those are obviously three things that the Lions needed to have happen today, and they made it happen. So they did what they had to do to win this football game. Yeah.
All right, let's hope we can come on here next week and talk about the Lions being 500 going to the bye. That'd be a nice turn of events.
Wasn't that what they were last year going into the bye? Weren't they like 3-3-1, or were they 2-3-1 going into the bye?
I want to say 2-3-1.
Was it? Okay. I remember last year we were all
week 7 or week 8.
I remember last year or maybe it was 3-4-1 going into the bye last year. I think that's what it was. 3-4-1. I don't remember, but I remember being all gung ho about the Lions because of the Chiefs game was the big one. And
then, the Chiefs game happened, and the Packers game happened. That was our heartbreaker.
Yes. And then just the wheels fell off.
One of the maddest I've ever been.
Speaking of the wheels falling off last season. Oh, I know, right? Speaking of the wheels falling off last season, Jeff Driscoll in Denver right now.
Yeah.
They've got a real solid quarterback duo with Jeff Driscoll and Blake Bortles.
I am so glad. I went Tampa in all three.
I did too.
This week.
I picked them up this week just for that, actually.
Oh, there you go.
In another league, I picked them up just for that.
But,
I did go Tampa and FanDuel though.
Let's move on to the Pistons here. So James Edwards had a pretty busy week. So first, there was an interview with Dwane Casey, and one of the big takeaways that I want to touch on from this interview was Casey talking about Luke Kennard playing the point. According to James Edwards, he said that he wants to have him continue to get reps as a creative ball handler, talking about Luke Kennard. He said he doesn't want to put Bruce Brown in that spot again, meaning as the primary ball handler. Casey said he's wanted to see Luke bring the ball up against pressure for the experience. Nick, what do you think about Luke Kennard being the primary ball handler in Detroit?
So I'll get to that question in a second because the thing I want to focus on first is and they kind of tie in together. You know, my reasonings here is that he doesn't want to see Bruce Brown be the primary ball handler, which actually is kind of surprising to me because Bruce Brown in spots last year being asked to be the ball handler actually looked pretty good.
Yeah,
you know, I liked him in that spot. I thought he was pretty effective.
What's his role if he's not? Because he's not a great shooter. He's a good facilitator. He's a good defender.
He's I think that if that's the case, his time may be coming to an end here in Detroit, or they'll ask him to be a defensive specialist like Lindsey Hunter was when he was here. I'm curious about it because I did think Bruce Brown was fairly effective in that spot. But my tie-in to it is I think the reason he wants to see Luke Kennard be the primary ball handler is the fact that he's got quite a bit more playmaking ability. He's able to create his own shot. Versus Bruce Brown, even if he does create his own shot, it probably ain't going in. But Luke Kennard, it's a little bit of a different story. He's a guy who can make plays by himself. He can get to the rim. He can, take a step back and put up a J and make it. Yeah. He's a guy who, if he gets a little bit more of a solid passing vision, he becomes a little bit more lethal out there. And you look at guys like Jamal Murray. There's an example of a guy who is a primary ball handler who has come on because he's able to make a play himself, but he's also got vision to, make the right pass. And that's what the Lions.
But do you really anticipate Kennard having that level of playmaking ability?
No, I don't. I'm just giving you an example of the type of player they want Kennard to be. A guy who can be a score first guy, but also have enough vision and passing ability to dish it out when called upon. And there's no reason to believe that Kennard can't do something similar to that. Is he going to be as the ceiling as high? No. But I do think Kennard's got the ball handling, the playmaking ability. He's able to create his own shot, that he's able to take on that role. And we saw it, if I remember right, we saw it in short stints in the Bucks series 2 or 3 years ago.
That was 2 years ago. The Bucks
2 years ago. We saw in short stints, and I think it was one of the games that he put up like 24, 25, 26 points where he was so effective, and we asked him to be that primary ball handler, and he looked really good. And then we go into the next season, this past season, saying, oh, maybe he's, maybe this is a role that he'll play, and we never saw it again.
I mean, he did really, just talking about this season, his first 2 years in the league, I was saying this, he can't do anything but shoot. He's not a facilitator. He wasn't showing any ability to really find the open teammate. He wasn't showing ability to create his own shot, but he really took strides this past season. He more than doubled his assist numbers, but that's beside the point. That's just the numbers. He looked a lot better actually moving the ball around, and he did look much better with the ball in his hands outside of just being a catch and shoot guy. So I do agree that I think that he showed flashes in that playoff series and throughout last season. I think it's not the wildest idea. It's not something that really crossed my mind before.
I mean, like I said, I'm willing to try just about anything with this Pistons team at this point. Yeah. And I'm kind of in a little bit of lockstep with Dwane Casey in that I don't really need to see Bruce Brown be that guy. And the reason is because he doesn't have an ability to be, create his own shot. And if he does, like I said, it probably isn't going in. So what good does that do? If a guy can't make the shot that he creates for himself, then why is he the one being the primary ball handler? And a defense is going to be able to read that a mile away, where why would you ever sag a man off the perimeter to try and slow down Bruce Brown from getting to the basket? There's no reason to do that. With Luke Kennard, it's a little bit of a different story. You may have to sag off your man a little bit to stop him from getting to the basket or to stop him from getting into the lane and penetrating. That's a little bit different. There's a little bit more of a threat there.
Can you imagine if we do this? Like, let's say we would trade Derrick Rose and we're running with Kennard as our point for the whole year next year. Can you imagine if like this works out and Kennard suddenly becomes like a 22-7 guy? Like,
oh God, yes. Oh, that would make Dwane Casey look like a genius.
Yeah.
That right there alone should win Dwane Casey Coach of the Year.
Yeah. But so speaking of Kennard, now we have that high point. Now here is an opposite take with Kennard. So James Edwards, again, he put out his latest mock draft with The Athletic, and he had us trading up into number 2 with the Warriors, giving up Blake Griffin, Luke Kennard, and the number 7 overall pick for number 2 and Andrew Wiggins. There was a lot of debate on Pistons Twitter about this trade. I want to know, is this something you'd pull a trigger on it?
It's something that I would certainly consider. Obviously, Andrew Wiggins has been quite a bit of a disappointment through this point in his career, considering where he was drafted. He's got 4 years left on his deal. 3 years left on his deal after this season. So he's owed roughly an average of 32 mil over the next 3 years. And then there's no options. He's just a UFA after that. So you don't have to really re-sign him. So maybe this is something I would consider because I don't know how close the Pistons are to winning. And if it nets me the number 2 overall pick,
that means you likely get LaMelo Ball.
You get LaMelo Ball. You could get really whoever the hell you want.
Unless something happens where either the Timberwolves pass on Anthony Edwards or someone trades in the one and doesn't take Anthony Edwards.
Right. You get Anthony Edwards. Right. So I don't think you're going wrong either way there. So maybe it is something I do because I don't think the Pistons are in a situation where they're going to be looking to win over the next 3 years anyways. And it gets them a chance to get a cornerstone player with LaMelo Ball. And in all reality, if they are in a position where they could be winning in the next few years with LaMelo Ball's development and development of the guy they draft next year, Andrew Wiggins can contribute. He's not a dumpster fire out there. He's a guy who can contribute and score. So I don't see it really. I know he's a big contract that locks money up for a while. But I think it's only 1 year longer than Blake Griffin's contract. So I think so, yes. But it's only 3 years. And what are the Pistons winning in the next 3 years? What are they winning? We've got to build a team here still. We're starting a rebuild. And a really nice way to start a rebuild is grab a number 2 overall pick in a year where the number 2 guy is probably really freaking good.
Am I off to say that I basically consider Andrew Wiggins a taller Stuckey at this point?
No. I mean, he scores quite a bit better than Stuckey could. But he turns the ball over a lot. He's not very good defensively. He could have been. I don't know what the hell happened there.
I think he has a better 3-point shot than Stuckey, probably. I remember Stuckey had flashes, but overall I remember he was really efficient from 3.
Yeah. But again,
it's just that kind of thing. Like he's a terrible decision maker, inconsistent effort. Yeah. But there's times when he can just light it up scoring the basketball. So
right. Like I said, though, the reason I do this is because this team isn't winning in the next few years anyways. So while Wiggins is on the books, it doesn't matter whether it's Wiggins or Blake Griffin because you're not winning with either one of them right now, the way the team is constructed. And the only way you're going to get better is by getting as high of a draft pick as possible. So trading away Blake Griffin and your number 7 pick or 6 pick, it's 7, right? Yeah. And your number 7 pick to bring in Andrew Wiggins and the number 2 pick, I say go for it. And again, it's because you're not winning in the next 3 years regardless. And giving yourself an opportunity to get franchise-changing talent like a LaMelo Ball or an Anthony Edwards or whoever you get there is so big because you're not getting that at number 7 right now.
So the big holdup on Pistons, because I agree with you, but the big holdup on Pistons Twitter, just to play devil's advocate here, was there was a camp that just really highly valued Luke Kennard and just wasn't willing to give Luke Kennard up in general. And then there was another camp that didn't want to do this trade because they valued that extra year very high, like basically that extra year that you're going to have of locked up money with Andrew Wiggins. They valued that really highly, and it was not something that they wanted to tie the Pistons into.
Okay, but why?
that's where I come in. I say, like, it's not like
What?
you said. What's the difference between 2 and 3 years when you're a team that's not going to be competing?
Well,
for
not
five?
just that. What are you signing with the $33 million there? Are you going to pay Josh Smith to come back for $30 million? No. Like nobody wants to sign here.
I would even argue, and this might be completely off base, but just judging from where I feel that Blake Griffin's trade value may be at right now, the $33 million might be more valuable kept on your books rather than trading him, because I feel like
because then you can trade it away that year as an expiring deal for a first round pick.
There's that, but I'm just talking about the next couple of years. There might be more value in mentorship than whatever you're gonna have to give up to get rid of Blake Griffin this year.
Right. Right.
No, there might be more value in the mentorship that Blake Griffin will bring to the team.
I'll be honest with you. I'm not one that looks at a ton of free money or a ton of salary cap space with the Pistons and say, "Oh, we're in the driver's seat," because we're not.
Yeah, we're so far away that.
Well, not just that. Players don't sign here.
Yeah.
Throughout any of the sports, you don't get the big time free agent here. You get the third or fourth option guy. And you overpay to get him here.
If you can find a way in these next couple years to start putting together a really promising team and then have Blake Griffin's money come off the books, you might be able to entice a pretty good player to come here, because you could be selling a contending team.
Well, there's another thing. Would you rather, if you're a free agent right now, you're a superstar free agent, would you rather go sign for a team that has nobody, or let's go Killian Hayes and whoever next year and a bunch of free money?
Killian Hayes and Emily Bates.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Oh, okay. Really? You're not getting Emoni Bates next year. Unless you're totally bottom out. But
you might. There's an argument to me that the Pistons could be the worst team in the league.
Yeah, but even they'd still lose the lottery.
Yeah.
Let's be real. You ain't getting Emoni Bates, even though it would be the Cleveland Cavs treatment. But
oh my God. I would try my hardest to pay off Adam Silver to give me that number one pick.
Oh, I would too. Either way. What entices you more to sign here? Having Killian Hayes or having LaMelo Ball?
That's a good question. See, like on face value,
LaMelo Ball.
because I don't know if you can. Because on face value, right now, LaMelo Ball is a bigger name. But what if in 2 years, Killian Hayes is really good, LaMelo Ball ended up being a bust?
Okay, but I'm going with what we know now.
Yeah, if LaMelo Ball ends up being the superstar a lot of people think he could be,
right?
Then it'd be LaMelo Ball,
right? And that's why its player would probably want to sign to play for. And if you're able to grab a potential superstar like LaMelo Ball, because Killian Hayes doesn't have that upside that we know of. He doesn't have that kind of ceiling. But if you're able to grab LaMelo Ball and say both pan out well and LaMelo Ball's hit his ceiling and then you got another guy next season, I'd look to sign. If I'm a free agent and a big time one with all the money coming up, I would look to sign here if you have that. I may not if you have Killian Hayes. Or whoever else you get, or Tyrese Halliburton. Yeah. You know, it's a lot more enticing to sign with a team when they've got that kind of talent here. But the only way you can get that kind of talent is by moving up in the draft.
And last point I want to make, and this is just more a general picture on this whole thing, is I do think that Golden State may be a team that could actually be willing to move back, because I feel like they're probably targeting James Wiseman. Is what I would assume. The reason
they were so bad was because of injury.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm just saying in general, in terms of who they'd be targeting in the draft, I'd assume they'd be targeting James Wiseman, right? I mean, that seems like the obvious choice for Golden State. I feel like they don't need to be there to get him. I feel like they can get him a few more spots down. So like I do think that Golden State may offer some trade potential too. So just in general, how enthusiastic are you about the Pistons moving up, and just like how badly would you want them to try to trade into two? Is that something you'd really want them to explore, or are you happy where we are and not giving up any assets?
I'm not happy where we are and giving up any assets. I was disappointed that we got the number 7 overall pick. I wanted better. Well, here's a chance to get better. I'm extremely enthusiastic about the Pistons going after a higher draft pick here, especially the number 2, because we need franchise-altering talent on this team. Yeah. Luke Kennard is not a franchise-altering talent, regardless if he's a playmaker, if he becomes this playmaker or not that Casey's going to ask him to. He's not. He's not a guy you build around, and we need that type of talent here. We don't have it.
Many people in Detroit for some reason feel like he is.
I see. That's okay. I like Luke Kennard. I think he's a solid player. But what has he done to make you believe that he's some kind of crazy superstar that we have to hold on to?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't get it.
I don't know.
I don't get it. Where's the extreme value there? I don't get it. But anyways, no, I think you have a potential chance here to get franchise-altering talent at the top of the draft. Go after it, because you don't have that right now. You don't have that kind of talent, and you need it, because that's the only way to rebuild properly in this league. It's how teams build championships.
That's all I got. You left that on a pretty good note right there. I didn't want to. I don't want to drown that out. That was a good note to leave that.
That is going to be all for this week, guys. That's all I got also. So thank you, Andrew, for joining me. Thank you guys for listening. Follow us on Twitter at Real Fan Report, and we'll catch you guys next week. As always, this has been the Fan Reporters. Bye, fans.
For fans.
Thank you guys again. We'll catch you later. Peace out.
Peace.